we let people
Yes.
come in, today's me and you. I hope you've had dinner because we're going to be here up until 11 o'clock tonight. Is that okay?
I'm ready.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So, yeah, please, we're welcoming everyone that's coming in. We have about 3 to 5 minutes to start. So we'll let you come through and get comfortable. I see quite a number coming through. That's good. That's good. You can settle in. Bring in your coffee, your dinner.
Popcorn.
Popcorns. Yes, popcorns. I like popcorns. Popcorns. We're waiting for you. We're waiting for you. It's going to be a very exciting day. I'm so excited, and that's why I asked to be the chair of the first series, because this is something that we've always wanted to do.
Yes.
So I'm very, very happy.
Me
I really
too.
am. Yeah. And there's more to come, some big stuff on the way.
Yeah. That's excellent. We've been asking for this for like 15 years or more.
I'm glad we can get here. So, yeah, let it be a start and let more people come in and be excited, because I really believe this is going to be great for everyone. Okay. To date, we've got 60. And how is Pretoria today, Doctor?
It's a good day for golf.
Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it warm? Is it okay?
No, it's hot. It's hot.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Pretoria never gets bad weather.
But in summer, I've been there. In summer, it's quite hot.
Yeah, it's hot, but it's bearable.
I see. I see.
We actually have aircon here as well. We just need electricity.
I hear you. I hear you. So while we're about to start, I'm gonna share a video with everyone. Let's see if I will win at this time. Okay. Didn't work. Let's share this one. Just stop this. So I'm about to share a video, guys, before we start, and as we wait for more people. So let me just put it up there. Okay. So let's share this video, everyone. I was told that I need to optimize, so I'm gonna stop this sharing and come back again. Oh, it is actually optimized. All right, so this should work for all of us. So let's see how we can do this. So earlier on, guys, I was struggling to share, and I may be having the same issue again. I'll try for the last time. Not winning. But you have seen the other stuff, so maybe I don't need to share for now. I'm gonna try for the last time, for the very last time. If not, do it later. Yeah, I think it's 3 minutes past, so this is not working as I wanted. I'm gonna stop sharing, and I would like to welcome everyone that is here today. I'm hoping that we will get more people joining us later, but we're not going to wait for them. So this is our very first, I'll call it close to structured and official mentorship series. We are hoping that every year, SADA will have a longer, more detailed series of a mentorship like this one, where we are going to try to equip newly qualified dentists. And for us, newly qualified dentists means you have graduated from varsity, you may be in ComServe. This is a very important webinar for you. You may be starting as a fully independent person, whether in the public sector, public hospital or clinic, or you may be going into private practice, whether working in someone's practice as a locum or as an associate or whatever status you might have in there. That is for you. We have realized that many of our young dentists, newly qualified, and for me, newly qualified, by the way, in this instance, we're going to include anyone that is qualified and they've been in the outside of varsity for 5 years since their qualification, because I think over time, when we develop this process, we're going to have the basic and we're going to have the intermediary sessions as well as advanced sessions. So these ones that we're going to be having in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then later on towards the end of the year, we'll start with the basics, but we're going to mix a little bit of the advanced and a little bit of the intermediate kind of information. So my name is Casey Makubele. For those who have not met me, I'm the CEO of the South African Dental Association. I'm hoping that everyone that is here, one way or the other, you know about me, or you have met me at your function or at your university, maybe giving a talk or something of that nature. So I'm very excited. I'm expecting more people, but I see we've got 105. Now, I do know that one of the things that affect our attendance is load shedding. So we want to tell you that this is recorded and it will be available for those that are not here today. So if you've got friends that are not attending, please tell them to log on in the next 3 days, log on to the SADA website. We'll give you information, but they will be able to find where the video is. For those of you that are struggling to join us via the Zoom platform, please note that we are streaming this on YouTube. So you can even get some of your friends to log on to YouTube to see what we are talking about today. I must take this opportunity to thank the YDC, the SADA Young Dentists Council, because this is being hosted by them. It is through their innovation and their thinking as well that we've been able to come together to some sort of a program that we've been wanting to do for a long time. So the current committee, I want to say thank you so much for the input that you have given, and I'm sure we can just improve from here. I want to say, and I was saying this to Dr. Erasmus, it was today, sometimes I lose my days, that my wish as a CEO and the wish of the board, of course, National Council, everyone else, is that we have a formal structure for this so that every year people know exactly this is what at level 1 you can learn, at level 2 you can learn, at level 3. And for me, level 3 is basic, and then level 2 is intermediate, and level 3 is that end side of things, the more advanced. It means you've covered the basics, you've covered the intermediate, and you are really roaring to just fly. So I'm going to be approaching a few experienced and newly qualified, or young dentists rather than newly qualified. I'm putting together a committee that will put together, including academia, hopefully, that will put together a program with me that we can utilize from next year going forward, so that we are fully addressing the issues. Having said that, I am excited to have Dr. Erasmus, whom I'm going to introduce later. But just for house rules, please, when you have a question, put it in the chat box. If you look at the bottom of your screen, depending on what device you are using, there's a chat box. Sorry, don't use the chat box, but I want you to use the Q&A. Apologies. I want you to use the Q&A. Just type your question or type your comment in the box. And if it's a comment, please just write comment so that if we are running out of time, we only read the questions, but I would like to also read the comments that may be useful for today and going forward. Please note that this week, we're starting tonight, and then tomorrow, we've got another speaker on coding and pricing, all those type of things. Then on Wednesday, we are going to have a round table where you'll be able to meet Dr. Erasmus, Dr. Pabu, who's going to be in tomorrow, and the other speakers. They will all be joined by new cream of speakers, and there will be what we call a round table, and you can ask whatever question. And we would prefer that you ask around what would have been taught, but I know that it's not necessary there. So we will allow you to ask anything. Some of these things will be captured and dealt with either tomorrow and next week, exactly the same. We're going to have one on Monday, Tuesday, then on Wednesday, it's going to be a round table where you can just ask anything that you want to ask. So please invite everyone that has not joined today to say, please come and listen, because here is a platform. And this is for free, by the way. It's for free. It's for free for SADA members and for non-SADA members that are young dentists. It's for free. So invite them. There's no reason why they should not be joining, because it's for free. And all you need is your phone and internet. And I know that most of you are on TikTok. So you cannot tell me that you cannot join tonight, and you cannot join tomorrow night, and you cannot join on Wednesday night. So ladies and gentlemen, and of course, this is accredited. So you get your CEU points as indicated. So this is, you are learning. You are also obviously getting your CEU points, and we're going on. So guys, without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Erasmus to you. Dr. Erasmus, I earlier said to him, maybe I should call him a professor. Why I would say that is because Dr. Erasmus has been practicing for quite a long time. Some of you that are joining today, you were not born, let alone your parents married when he started practicing. So he's got a lot of experiential knowledge. He ran and is still running a very successful practice in Pretoria. It has grown and he's employed more people, so he's not doing it on his own. And that's where we actually want to get you to, where you can run your practice and then look after your practice as a business in such a way that it is good in all respects: systems, customer care, and of course your clinical, your management, everything should run very well. Okay, so Dr. Erasmus qualified as a dental surgeon in 1986 at the University of Pretoria, South Africa. That's why if Pretoria were to say tomorrow there's a soccer match and it's open to everyone, Dr. Erasmus will be there. He loves the University of Pretoria so much. In 1988 to now, as I indicated, he's been owning and practicing in a private practice in Hatfield, Pretoria. And managing this practice in Hatfield, Pretoria, he employed 3 full-time dentists. So there are 4 of them: an oral hygienist, 3 dental assistants, and 4 admin staff members. Now, can you see this is a good practice in terms of the numbers that we are talking about? And not only has he made it successful, but he's also created employment, which in South Africa, we must acknowledge that it's a helpful thing. In 2000, he did the MedPro X Business Administration with UNISA, where he got actively involved in the South African Dental Association activities. He comes from far, like from very far, in terms of his work with SADA. I'm going to read just a few, if you allow me, and maybe I'll touch on them later on. But he's been in 2002 to 2003, he was the vice president of the SADA branch in Pretoria. 2004 to 2007, he was the branch president of that branch. 2004 and 2007 at the same time, or concurrently, he was a SADA national councillor, which even today he is. He was also a member of the private practice committee, what we now call the DPCOM. He was in 2007 to 2008 a chair for marketing committee at SADA. 2007 to 2008 a national treasurer. Dr. Erasmus, we don't have a national treasurer anymore. But in our days, we would probably call him the CFO or the head of finance. 2008 to 2011, he became a SADA president. At the same time, he represented SADA at the FDI, as well as Aero, where he was a vice president in terms of the Aero. 2009 to 2010, he was a member of the what we call the Relative Value Unit ad hoc steerco to determine the fee structure, to determine the relative, to determine the relative value units of all the procedures that we have. 2010, he was the FDI Budget Reference Committee in Brazil for the World Congress. 2011, speaker on the oral health hygienists and mid-level workers. Guys, you can see he's done quite a lot. So I'm gonna skip there to say he's been a director in this organization of the board as a vice chairperson. He became a chairperson. He remained a member of the RVU committee. He remains even today a president of the SADA branch, and he remains in the RVU committee. I can go on and go on, but I think he can share a little bit if he wants when he gets time. For now, I want to hand over to him so that he can talk to us. I call this practice management, but what you are going to learn today is the nuts and bolts of billing, of understanding coding, how to interact with the medical scheme in that environment. So Dr. Erasmus, I really want to say thank you so much for your flexibility to come here. You may not remember, but one of the reason why today you are here is because I sat in one of your lectures in Skukuza. I think it was possibly 2019 or 2018. And I sat there as a non-dentist. I said, but this is very simple to follow. This is quite good. We need to capture this in some sort of a book, some sort of a teaching like this today, because this is what young people want to hear, because otherwise they make so many mistakes. And I think SADA has paid its school fees by having the likes of you and other doctors making mistakes. I do apologize, making mistakes that they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be making mistakes today. They should rather be able to set up and fly. So Dr. Erasmus, over to you.
Thank you, Casey. Yes, I think it's been a time coming for me to be here tonight. We've spoken about it before, and congratulations that you're starting moving in the direction. You know, I've been listening many years for only clinical information coming as a bridging for young dentists. But I think we forget you can be clinically as good as you want to be if you can't run your practice as a business, because that's what the practice is a business. You can't be successful. If you can't be successful, you can't be a good clinician, because you simply don't have the money to buy all the things you need to do good dentistry. So thank you for the opportunity. And I think, yes, I think everybody should, I think the most important thing is from that whole CV is I've chaired the private practice now, the dental practice committee for many years, and learned a lot there. And because I had the knowledge and be able to use it in my practice as well. And yes, before I end up where I'm today with only the one practice, I actually had 4 practices at one stage with one partner, and we ran about the 4 practice with about 12, 13 dentists and many more other staff. And it is a business. And if you don't realize that, you're going to make mistakes. So, and I think because of the knowledge that I possessed, I can learn that to the younger dentists. So I would like to be involved in this mentorship program of yours. That's a very excellent, good idea. So I did not prepare slides. I've spoken to Marlies and she said, let's try and keep it a bit more informal for the younger dentists, because I know I was young as well. And, you know, in the beginning, when you start, you are too scared to ask questions. You think you are not the smart one in the whole thing. And you think that everybody knows better than you. And the fact of the matter is that we all started at the bottom and you learn. So learn from someone that's already done it, know where the problems are. So that's what I want to try and give you a quick rundown tonight. I think this whole subject of effective billing is only a small part of the whole issue of practice management. If we're going to give attention to that, that's probably a course of a whole week. So I'm going to try and stick to the basics of how to get a patient through your practice and do the billing in such a way that it makes sense and that you are sure it's going to end up getting processed in the correct way and effectively. I must just say that I did bring my wife as my backup here on my left hand. So when I'm a glance there every now and then to verify, confirm. She's been my practice manager for 30 years. And I can promise you, she probably knows more about coding than 90% of the dentists in South Africa. And through this, I'm going now for my 35th year in practice. I've had almost 40 dentists coming through my practice, where she's been very much involved in training and educating them. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to highlight some main issues. And I take it, Casey, that you're going to check the questions and answers or questions that has come up, and you will relay through to me during the process, or whatever way you feel it's fine. Please do it that way. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit here to say to you that you should be well equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills to work in a dental practice that are billing to medical aids. Yes, there is a difference between a practice that's being run where people are saying they are contracted out and they don't deal with medical aids at all. That may be so, but in effect, you will always deal with medical aids, whether directly or indirectly. Because even if you don't bill directly to a medical scheme, you're still obliged. And please, Dr. Parbu, I don't know if you're part of this evening, but if I say something that's no longer applicable, please correct me. But according to the Medical Schemes Act, you are obliged to deliver, even if you don't bill directly to the recording stops. Can you still hear me, Casey?
Yeah.
Can I
Carry
continue?
on. Yeah, continue. We'll sort it out.
Okay. So you will always be either directly or indirectly involved with medical schemes, because most of the people, 75% of the people that got medical aids in South Africa are in a position that they can only afford that and nothing more. And I'm not just saying this. I've got friends in high places. I'm joking a little bit here. It's like the medical aid administrators and so forth. And they tell me that almost 85% of people on schemes are still relying on direct payment directly to their dentist. So if you are in the practice, you're in the top 5% that are lucky enough to don't deal directly with that, you are lucky. Now, of the other people are all relying on this. So I'm going to go through the whole process of dividing it in 4 main categories to go to a process of how to bill in your practice to make it work effectively. So there are 4 things of importance to get the billing done correctly in your practice. Number 1 is you have to obtain complete and thorough patient information before the patient gets into your practice. I'm just going to highlight the 4 points and then discuss each of them. You have to know your SARDA codes and guidelines. That is very important. And I can tell you, in my so many years of experience dealing with dentists on a yearly basis, and every young dentist coming through my practice, this is one of the biggest problems, that effective billing is not taking place because the dentists don't know the coding. They walk in there and it seems, I'm not sure whether it's still today the truth, but education is taking part in modules or compartmentally, where you don't realize that there are certain codes that you can't use together. You can't use like a code 8131 together in the same visit on the same tooth with the 8336 or anything like that. So they will double bill the same tooth number with 2 different codes that don't go together, and that will be rejected. Number 3 is you should know your medical schemes, rules, and protocols. Now, this if you practice that rely on medical aid payments, this is so important, and it's almost become key to survive these days. Now, this is the subject, I think, tomorrow evening of Dr. Parbu, and she will highlight some of these issues with you. Now, I know there are a lot of people that say, and I think it's absolutely the truth, that if you can move away from medical schemes altogether, it would have been great. But that is very unrealistic in today's financial times, and I think it's getting tougher and tougher for a young dentist to start up a practice. Because we came from a background 30 years ago or more where there was no limits. There were absolutely no limits on dentistry. You could have done 10 crowns in one visit, no problem. You did not need any authorization. Now it's completely changed. So you need to understand the whole process of scheme rules and protocols, where they are very prescriptive. But if you have the right knowledge and you can apply it correctly and effectively, and I will go a little bit in detail, but I will leave this more to Dr. Parbu for tomorrow evening. And number 4, and this is very important, is an effective software program. Now, if you don't have an effective software program, you are in trouble. You must have the capacity and the capabilities to do the whole process, which I will go through with you in the next hour or so. And then I will discuss the whole journey of the patient from pre-billing, before he comes into the practice, during the practice, and afterwards. And then I will just highlight some of the rejections that take place and why they take place, that you should be aware, not fall in that trap of making those mistakes unnecessary, because that slows down the whole process of getting paid. Okay, so I'm going to start off with number one, and that is getting thorough and complete patient details and why it's important, and why it can lead to mistakes in your billing process. All of this in my practice, we do before the patient walks into the practice. So when the patient makes the appointment it could be via the telephone, the cell phone, via WhatsApp, it can even come through the website. There are many different medias these days, mediums. Google the website, they can make the bookings. That's actually something you should do. That's the way you pick up patients and make it easy for patients to make appointments. But then it's important, get the main member. That is very important. All his details, his birthday, his ID number, and very important, his medical aid, not only the name, but the number of the medical aid, but then even also much more important, the option. Because there's so many options. I mean, you almost need a PhD these days to keep track of all the options that schemes are coming with. I'm not quite sure. Dr. Pabu will probably know better than me, but there must be probably about somewhere between 300 and 400 different plans or options in South Africa today. If you keep track of the basics, it's a good thing. So all this is important for validation, and we're going to get to your software program. And is your software program to do all this? Because this is something that even before my time, I remember very well Dr. Erasmus fighting for the schemes for this thing of real-time validation, real-time billing, and ultimately the real ultimate we can get to is real-time payment. So you should be able to, with all this information, it's important to do the patient's scheme membership validation. You should be able to check dental benefits. You should check available savings. If it's a plan that works on savings, and this is very important, this issue that I bring up here now, because young dentists are still very much confused about whether there's savings and whether it's a scheme that's got dental benefits. And so you can have a situation where the scheme will tell you they pay for all these codes. They will give you a list of 30, 40 codes that they will pay for. But if there are savings, so there is no savings, you can't do anything. Whether they say they pay for these 20, 30 codes, that's irrelevant. There's no savings. And then it could be the other way around as well. The patient can have R1 million in his savings. They don't pay for that specific code. They won't pay. They may pay for emergency root canal treatment, but they're not going to pay for the completion of the root canal. And even if he's got R1 million in his account, they're not going to pay for those codes. So you need to establish that beforehand with the information that you gained from the patient when you spoke to him before he walks into that practice. You can do all that. I know it's very cumbersome, but it works. The issue here is all about cash flow and guarantee for payment. That's what you're aiming for. And people, I can tell you, it works. I've been doing this since forever, and it works. Please believe me. So what we do, I'll bring up a little thing here. It's not a slide, just to show you more or less there. It shows a lot of coding. And this is a little paper that we've drawn up with about 12 basic codes like 8101, 8109, 8110, 8132, 8161, 8107, all the basic diagnostic codes that you may need in a first appointment. And then 8131, emergency treatment, codes like that, to make sure that those codes at least will be paid in a first visit. Now, again, we're going to get to the software program, but your software program should be able to assist you in this process, as well as some of the portals of the medical schemes. They do help you with this. I can even mention here that a scheme like BestMed has got a chat room. You can actually chat with someone and confirm these issues even before the patient walks into the practice. You can talk in the chat room and ask them, can I do 8101? Can I do 8131? So forth. And then some of them will tell you, sorry, but this patient has been to another dentist in the last week. So there may not be any savings left, or that specific code like the 8101 or the 8107, you can't charge that again. If you charge that in that visit, the patient will have to pay you himself. And again, when I say the scheme doesn't allow it, you must please remember, I always say to the dentist working in my practice, you can always charge or bill what is correct, and you should always do what is ethically correct. But inform the patient, get informed consent that you're going to do this. So that's what you need, all that information beforehand. So all this has been done already before the patient walks into the practice, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation of wasting time to try and convince the patient about certain things, because all of you who are young and new in practices where you deal a lot with medical aid, you know the patient will ask you, but doctor, do I have money for that? And that's normal in these times, not abnormal. It will happen. And then you are ready, because you don't want to waste time in your chair. Chair time is costing you money. So you should have done all this beforehand. So that is about information. So number 2, I want to get to is know your SARA dental codes and guidelines. People, I've been involved with this also since 2000, with all the coding and assist with the coding structures and books. Yes, there are some problems currently with codes. I think Dr. Tanisha will address some of them tomorrow evening as well and give you more clarity on what's going on there. So I'm going to quickly run through it. So you should know which is the correct code when applying for a service that you've delivered. That's very important. It sounds simple, but if I can give you a tip, I always tell the young dentist starting with me, take the coding book and just try and go through 10 codes every day. And if you study them, ask me, what does it mean? And then so you will also learn that there are new codes coming up. And their SARA has been exemplary in the last 10 years or so, and constantly keeping their eye on new technologies, fighting for new codes, because like 10 years ago, we did not have codes for CBCT and so forth. So many new technologies need new codes. So the coding book is what we always say, it's a living document. You have to keep up to date with every new code. So you need to understand there are certain situations, and I think that's I don't want to say it's a mistake coming from the university days where you kind of work in a restorative department, and then you go into do maxillofacial stuff where you do only extractions, and then you go to that department. So you never keep on working on one patient where you've got a mix of codes in one visit. And if you know your codes, you will realize that there are some codes that you can simply not ask together in the same visit on the same tooth. And that is a guideline from SARA. Now, there are other protocols which are purely put there by medical aids from a financial perspective. It does not mean that you can't do it. You must just remember, if you're going to do it, you just have to inform your patient, you're going to do this, and your scheme then may not pay for this one code or not. So you're going to be responsible for that. Then there's the concept of the RVUs. It's also indicated in the new coding book that you can pick up the RVUs. Maybe Casey, I'm not quite sure where information has been given to young dentists about the RVU study. I think it's very important that you understand the concept when you do your work in dentistry. I'm moving a little bit away from the effective billing here, but you understand that the procedures that you do may not be cost effective and may not be simply financially worthwhile if you stick to the medical aid tariff. And just remember that. And then very important, if you know, if we come to coding and billing, is the ICD-10 codes. We've moved to the next level of the ICD-10 codes. We have to apply, and there could be 2 codes in one treatment code line. It is very complicated, but again here, if you've got the right software program, if you put in a code like 8369, it will, for instance, give you an option of a few ICD-10 codes. So if you know the basics, you would immediately grasp which ones are the ones that you're going to have to use during that part of the billing. So you also need to understand which codes are permitted under your scope of practice. This is also very important. Some codes are only for specialists. I take it in the YDC, it's mostly general practitioners listening tonight. But it does go for specialists as well. There are some codes that if they are like a prosthodontists, they are simply not allowed to do simple things for them, like a single implant, the surgical part of that's not allowed. So know which codes fall under your scope. And especially if there are oral hygienists listening or dental therapists, very much applicable to you as well. And then you should understand where and when codes can be used together during the same visit on the same tooth. I've already said that. So that is the second important pillar of effective billing. Number 3 is know your medical scheme rules and protocols. Now, unfortunately, this part has become overbearing important in successful billing. If you are in a practice that rely heavily on medical aids, and I mean, I've spoken to people I know from the big administrators, and they tell me that at least 82% of dentists are still relying heavily on claiming directly from medical schemes. So this is important. And Dr. Pabu will touch much more on this tomorrow evening. I'm just going to highlight a few things here. It is of utmost importance that you are fully aware of the protocols, of the schemes, especially the schemes that you've signed a contract with. Now, I know there are a lot of people that say signing a contract is a bad thing and so forth. And I will have to agree that in a big way it is, yes. But if you do it correctly, you know, what I did in my practice many years ago is I evaluated the whole area in which my practice patients are coming from. And I think each one of you should do that exercise, because you may be in an area that there are a lot of GEMS patients. You could be in an area that are a lot of Medi-Health patients. It could be an area of a lot of discovery patients. So it may be worth your while, if you've got a bigger practice, especially, that you sign a contract with, let's say, Momentum Ingwe. And it may be not the best medical aid in the world. That's absolutely true, because they allow very limited treatment, like diagnostic procedures and limited restorative procedures like small fillings and extractions. But the one thing that you should always remember, you should not think that those patients on those schemes, that all of them do not have the finances or the money to pay for the treatment that you want to deliver that are not covered by that specific scheme or option of that scheme. I can just, and I always tell the story to some of my younger dentists that I once treated one of these patients of a certain scheme, and I felt sorry for this guy, and because it's only this low key option, and we walked down afterwards down the lift and walked out the front door, and he got into a Mercedes McLaren. So it's costing more than my house. So don't perceive what you don't know. So give the patient, and this is not only from a financial perspective, this is ethically correct, that you need to go through the whole treatment and propose the proper treatment to the patient from the top down to a compromise, if you want to offer a compromise to the patient. And that is where, if you sign contracts with schemes like Momentum Ingwe or Discovery Key Care, where we all know they don't really pay for things like completing of a root canal or a crown or whatever, but that leaves you in a situation where you can still offer the patient that, and you will be surprised that sometimes those patients actually, if you give them the options, that they will accept that treatment and they're going to pay that themselves. And then you must just remember, and this is where the RVUs are becoming very important, and the Decal. And this is a learning thing for young dentists. You need to get the hang of that RVUs in the Decal, that you can establish that if you're going to do those things, don't do it at a loss. Determine what the fee should be that you should ask. And because there is no scheme involvement, because you've signed a contract for the basic dentistry, you can do the other ones at a higher fee. There's nothing stopping you there. So charge that fee that you must charge. Otherwise, you're going to do the procedure at a loss. And that's not a philosophy. That's a fact that I'm giving you to you now. So even if you didn't sign an agreement, it's also important to understand concepts that come into play now here is balance billing and split billing. And this is where your software should also be able to help you. Dr. Pabu, I think, will discuss these two issues. Know the difference between split billing. Split billing currently is not allowed, where balance billing is allowed. And different administrators do allow balance billing, where you bill one account, 2 columns, one for the patient, one for the scheme, and a total. That is completely legitimate. So you can do it. So you can actually ask a little bit more for certain procedures, and start small with certain ones, little by little, grow your practice. So do that. So you need to understand that it doesn't mean that you can't do a procedure if a scheme doesn't cover that under that option. You must give the patient the option. You're still allowed to do it. It's simply a question getting informed consent from the patient, informing that he will have to pay. Always remember, it's your ethical duty to give the patient all the options. Okay, I'm going to do the software program, the billing program, and this has become key in making this work today. I've been with the same software program now for 22 years. I've assisted them in helping to build it up from a normal dentist program, and then it was a medical doctors program, and it moved over to becoming a very good dental program, with making it possible to move very close to the real-time validation. We are already there with real-time validation, real-time billing. I'll tell you about that and the next thing I think we're going to fight for, with the help of SARA, of course, is the next big thing is real-time payments, and that will be the ultimate to get to that position. So to ensure that you have a billing process in your practice that is effective and have the operational features that not only make it easy to bill, you must have the software that assist you in the process. So I normally say, okay, there's like a the first part that we discussed was the pre-billing process, and that is basically the validation of all patient information before even entering your surgery. Very important again. Don't waste time when the patient get there and sometimes they're late, and you can't then start running around trying to find out what's the benefits. Is the patient actually a valid member of that thing? Okay, so we've now validated your program is showing you. If you load it on a software program like the one I've got, it will immediately show you the patient is a member. If it's not a member or there's anything wrong with his number, it will throw it out. It will give you I think it's a red sign that shows it means there's something wrong, and it will tell you what. And one of the common mistakes people make here is the wrong dependent. So make sure who is in your chair. You know, the father is a main member, but the child in the chair is dependent number 2, not dependent number 1. Because sometimes there is something that the program will pick up. You put in dependent number 2, but the date of birth is wrong. So it may chuck it out and say you can't charge 8161 because that's fluoride for a child and not for an adult, so forth. So a good software program will indicate that to you. Okay. So the billing process in my practice work like this, and this is very important. I've asked, that was way before COVID, one of the big administrators one day, and this is an indication that I got from them, is to speed up your cash flow. You need to get your claims through your system as quickly as possible. So don't wait. If you see schemes like whoever may do a pay run on a Friday. So if you don't let your files lie there from the Wednesday, the Thursday, and the Friday, and you say, oh, I'm going to do it over the weekend, and then you miss that pay run. So you're already a week behind. So the ultimate, and this has been my practice, we bill while the patient is still in the chair. So if your software program, and the good ones should allow it, that you load all the information on your daybook. Now your dentist, and I don't know about the other universities in South Africa, but the program that I use is the same one that I think University of Pretoria is using to teach the dentists. So they are quite capable walking into my practice to use that program. So you can bill directly from the diary. So we load the patients on a daybook, and they bill directly in the chair while they're busy with the treatment. So you load your treatment codes, and your software should be able to show applicable ICD-10 codes that goes with a certain treatment code. Very important here is make sure that you put in your tooth numbers. This is a very common mistake of dentists beginning. They will put in the filling and all the surfaces, but they will forget the tooth number. And please remember, if there are a treatment code involved where you need to indicate a tooth number, you cannot bill like 8369. You've done three surface fillings, and you put 8369 all on the same line times 3. The schemes will throw that out. A good software program will immediately assist you and throw it out and indicate you can't do that. You have to do it literally line by line by line, and each one of it's showing the ICD-10 code. That's unfortunately the way it is now. The software should then allow you to post the claim via the EDI switching system. I think most of you young people will definitely know what that is. It's an electronic system, and you switch the account. And it's very, very important that you understand when you do this. And I can see that still happening in my practice on a daily basis. The dentists do everything correct, and then they post. Remember, when you push the button, it says post. That does not mean necessarily that it's switched, meaning connected with the scheme. So your software should give you a response and show. They are clearly signed. They're showing the claim has been accepted and went through. So this is real time. This is what you need. If your program does not offer you this, you've got the wrong program. You're going to have to change to speed up everything. You can't wait to make sure at the end of the day. So bill while the patient is in the chair, make sure it's went through immediately while the patient is still in the chair, because that we're going to get to the next step of the journey of the patient now from there to the front. Now, I can tell you at the moment that the only two schemes is that are actually getting close to what we really want is BestMed and Discovery. I can tell you, even before my time, my predecessor, Dr. Conradi, had a long battle with this issue of real-time validation on the claim itself. BestMed and Discovery is there. If there's something wrong there with that claim that you try to send through, and there's a mistake, they will show you that that's a mistake. Only BestMed and Discovery. Some of the other ones, most of the other ones, will let the claim go through. So they're not going to correct you immediately. They're gonna let you know later on that's been a mistake. So we need to get to the point where we can do real-time claiming and real-time rejections on sorry, I'm going to check here. Sorry, just a moment. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get to the rejection. It's just my practice managing correcting me here, but so they will reject your claim and show you what the mistake is that you made, BestMed and Discovery, but unfortunately not the other people. Okay. So now the account is processed, and this all is happening while the patient is still sitting in your chair. And you need to set up your whole billing system and practice in a manner where the dentist then at the back can send this through to the reception in the front, where they will receive it. They will print the account out, even though you're going to do switching directly to the scheme. Sometimes it will show you that there are no savings available or anything like that. If the patient now then comes to the front, you can give him a copy of the claim that has gone through. Just for the sake of getting proper consent and everything, you can show him that this has been billed. But even then, more important, when it will indicate to you that the patient is going to be responsible for this payment or that payment on that account. And then there's no arguments arising from that. You can show it to the patient that this is coming from the scheme. They've rejected that. And remember, if you go right back to where we've started, where I said we made provision for pre-auth on certain codes, and sometimes even after that, because there's a savings involved, since we've checked it, maybe the father or the mother or the brother or someone has went to another dentist and their claim has since then gone through. Now we picked up, because of the billing, we picked up, okay, now there's no more savings left. And the patient have to understand that. So in your practice, make provision for that situation by having a credit card machine and even a computer available for the patient to do EFTs immediately. Because I can tell you over the years that that's been the most difficult thing. And that's always when I actually, I hear what people say, yeah, we don't deal with schemes, but it's fine for those practices that are telling the patient to pay when they walk out the door. But those ones where the patients are walking out the door and you contract it out, is always the one you struggle to collect your money from. Same here. You know now that it's going to be a short payment on the account. So you inform the patient. And I can promise you 99% of the patients are willing to pay there and then, because they can see the proof that they're going to be responsible. And that's the easiest and best time to take the money from the patient, is there and then. Okay, now I'm gonna name a few. There's actually quite a few, but if you've done everything correctly from step one of the patient journey through the practice, this list of rejection is actually getting smaller and smaller. Things that can still happen or still happens a lot is, like I said, incorrect dependent code. Make sure that the person in the chair is the right dependent. It's not the sister and the brother but you're busy treating the brother. Tooth numbers. Very common mistake still happening is put in the tooth numbers. And then if you deal a lot of schemes, thing that Dr. Parbu will talk about tomorrow evening is understand the whole concept of authorization. And like I said, a lot of the schemes actually allow more treatments than dentists would know or think. I always make a little joke and say, because like literally every year in December or so, I will take all the manuals of all the schemes and go through them to look at the different allowances and what you can do or not. And then I will still get people phoning me and say, oh, that's a bad scheme because they only allowed 2 fillings. But if you turn to page 2, then you will see they will allow actually 4 or even 8 fillings if you get authorization. So again, I know it's cumbersome, but there's almost never that patient's going to walk into your surgery and you want to do 8 fillings in the first visit. So see the patient, do a proper checkup, do a proper charting, and then simple thing. And most of the schemes these days and the bigger ones got portals. You can make directly contact. You can do online authorization and receive it like within a day. So the patient can be back next day or next week for 10 fillings. And make sure about time rules on the billing of tooth numbers. That's unfortunately a bad thing that has come into play for many years now, where you can only do a filling in 365 days on the same tooth. And I see there's one of the bigger administrators that now moved it up to like 706 days, which I think actually is quite ridiculous, but it is one of their rules. It doesn't mean you can't do a new filling on that tooth. You just have to inform the patient he's got to pay himself. And then still, like I said, the very important thing, people are using the wrong codes for the wrong treatment. So that's more or less a very quick summary of a course that, and I can actually keep you busy for a whole week if we do it thoroughly. And you're more than welcome to ask questions and even make contact with me if you want information. Thank you very much, Casey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Erasmus. And guys, maybe a start before we go to questions and comments is that learn from the likes of Dr. Erasmus. When it comes to this particular topic, I really appreciate and respect Dr. Erasmus because you've gone through this, you have learned through this, you have seen things that work and things that don't work over time. So I'm so proud and so glad to have you. I've got a few questions, Dr. Erasmus, that are, it's not a lot. We've got 150 attendees at the moment. The first one is by Dr. Scott. It's just an agreement that he couldn't agree more with you on medical aids and practice management software. So again, an emphasis, guys, to say, gone are those days that you can live and work on spreadsheets and then paperwork to submit to the schemes. It's only going to make you suffer. It's only going to make your work, you can do it, but it's going to be laborious. It's going to make you suffer. It's going to make you even lose out on quick payments. And even some of your submission to the schemes can get lost. So absolutely agreed there with Dr. Scholz. So it's important that one of the first thing before you establish yourself a practice is decide on a software management tools. Now, I know there's a question down somewhere where someone has asked Dr. Erasmus what is the software that he uses. Dr. Erasmus, what I would rather like him to do is to say to you, these are the various, some, it's not even all, some of the software companies that he is aware of that dentists are using. So instead of specifically looking at what he is using, he's gonna mention, and we suggest you look at that, because he can mention what he's using, but one thing that I don't want to be held against him or SADA is to, as members, to think that we have recommended that. If something does not work, then Dr. Erasmus has to answer. He's chosen to use and work with the people that he's working with at the moment because it has worked for him. And I'm sure with every software, there's always an issue there, an issue there. You have to give and take. So Dr. Erasmus, can I ask you to just mention a few, even if it's 3 or 4 or 5 of the software? And by the way, you can also Google softwares and look at the reviews that is available in the market. But he was going to mention a few of those just now. Dr. Erasmus?
Yes, at the moment, I've been using GoodX. I've been with them for 22 years, and I'm still assisting them in drawing up a practice management course and so forth. I did declare to you earlier. But yes, from what I hear, they're the other ones that I know of that are getting good results or feedback is Solimet and Elixir. Like I said, actually, my wife is the expert in software management, but those 3. So as far as I know, all of them are very much also assisting in teaching the guys the software program when they install it. So
thank you.
Yes, those 3.
So Dr. Erasmus is just mentioning the 3 that he's aware of. He's not saying any other is not good, but right. I would suggest that you before you take any of the software, speak to your colleagues, check what they are using, check if they are happy. I mean, for me, there's quite a few things, and maybe this is a topic that Dr. Erasmus we can look at some stage and maybe prepare for this for Wednesday. Maybe let's touch on what is it that you should look for in a software company. How do you choose a software company? So you need to look at quite a few things. So I'm not going to go into the details, but maybe can I give you that task? I'll just mention maybe 2 from my side. Yeah. The first thing that I would like to look at is the customer experience. So those that are currently using it, how happy are they with that particular software, particularly with its functionality as well as the quick and good support. If something can be so flowery and look all beautiful, but if you don't have the support, technical support, and a quick one, you are doomed. The second thing that I would immediately look at is, over time, how often are the team developing new patches and new development designs that they've put into the system? Why? Because things are changing so rapidly on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and you want a software that speaks to those type of things. And if someone says, I'm using company A, ask them a question. How happy are you that it is doing what it's supposed to do? And how easy it is to use, so the ease of use from your side. How well is it supported technically? In other words, the after sales. When you send an email or you call, do you get help? Because some people go and sell these things, this software, and only to find that there's only 2 members that are supporting from the other side. You can't have 2 people only supporting everyone else. And then ask the last question. I mean, just for today, we can go on deep on this. When was the last time did you get a new version of this software? And I can tell you, yeah, if for 3 years nothing has happened, please remember my words: run away, run away, run away, and avoid going for one-man show softwares.
Yes.
Guys, it is not good for your business. I
Yes,
promise you, it's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say you're so right there. Make sure it's updated on a regular basis, because I actually heard of someone 2 years ago who did not know that this software program, if you put in X-ray program, it's not necessarily always integrated into that specific software program. So this person was actually getting his X-rays backed up differently, but not together with the software program, and then it crashed, and he lost all his X-rays. That's a major disaster. So you need to make sure that if the company is doing your backups for you wherever, in the cloud or wherever, make sure it's backed up.
Yeah. Dr. Erasmus, I'm giving you a task. When you join us on Wednesday, this is a question I would like you to deal with. What to look for in a software company when you need to choose?
Yes.
Okay. The next question is, can you refuse to treat someone if they do not have funds available, even for pain relief?
That's a part of the lecture. Now you can't really, if the patient is already in your chair. I mean, you should have. That's what I mean. If you've done everything beforehand, and that's why I say the whole journey of the patient through your practice, you should stick to the same thing always. So get all the information before that patient get into your surgery. So if you've done that and you got all the information, you would have checked and see, and when you try to validate that he's a member, but he no longer has any savings. And then you inform him beforehand, not when he arrives at your practice. Your lady or whatever, phone him or send him a WhatsApp. You are a member, but you've no longer got funding available. And my practice operated on the basis, in that case, that you will have to pay at the end of the visit. And then you can give him let's call it a pro forma invoice or a cost estimate of what it will cost for emergency treatment, let's say 750 Rand or whatever. So he must be, when you walk in the door, be informed and ready to be able to pay. He can either pay through a credit card, or he can do an EFT or whatever. Yeah.
Well, let me play a devil's advocate there. So those is when you've got a planned patient meeting. In other words, they phoned in and say, I'm coming and this is my situation. What about if Casey is at the shopping mall there at Hatfield, and I fall and I break my tooth, and someone says, oh, there's a dentist just across the road in that building, that tall building, and then they rush me there. They go like, we've got an emergency, this is what has happened, but then they don't have funds. What then to this question?
I think I still think the same thing is applicable. It's not your patient necessarily. So you're going to have to inform them. You will treat them. You're going to have to pay for the visit at the end of the visit. I mean, I think that's ethically not incorrect. I don't think you're transgressing anything if you tell the patient he's going to have to pay.
Thank you very much. Dr. Swanepoel, Stephen Swanepoel, is a comment. Most medical aids, third-party funders does not allow balance billing. They then pay the service provider directly. So basically what it means is that I'm going to use Discovery because this is a stated fact by Discovery.
Yes.
Discovery will say to you, we are not saying we don't agree with balance billing. We are happy, or we accept that balance billing can be done. By the way, balance billing is allowed by the HPCSA Act. It allows, by the guidelines of the HPCSA, we can and we should do balance billing where it's necessary. But the problem is with Discovery. If you bill that 1 cent more than what they want you to bill, they will not pay you as the health practitioner, but they will bill that, they will pay that to the patient. And guess what? If the patient gets that money although it's written there, please pay your practitioner, you're gonna find it very hard to get that money. The moment they get it, they are gone. They are gone. They are gone. So it's a problem that we're having, Dr. Erasmus.
Yes, you're right. I mean, we've been fighting, let's call it fighting, and since I've been the chair of that committee since forever, with Discovery on this very issue. Every meeting when you walk in there, the person in charge of their side will always say, I hope you're not going to talk about balance billing again today. I don't think SARA should ever give up. I think it's something that we should push for always. Because when, like I said, my predecessor started this whole thing about balance billing, and it took me another 6-7 years of negotiations to convince the other parties like the dentists or the DRC or whatever to accept balance billing. In the end, we did it. So yes, it was worthwhile, even if it took many years. So I think we should just stick to our guns, Sarah, and pushing for it. Maybe we're going to get it right. But you're right, Discovery is currently the biggest problem in that regard. But I must say, most of our other ones actually, in some form or the other, with certain sections like maybe not restorative work, but for crown and bridge work, implants, and root canal treatments, they would actually allow balance billing to an extent. So there are a lot of them out there who actually pay balance billing.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question is, may you kindly please elaborate the difference between balance billing and split billing? Want to deal with that, Dr. Erasmus?
I'll quickly deal with it. I think Dr. Pabu is going to do it tomorrow evening, but yes, balance billing is basically where you have one account, one claim paper account or bill, where your software program will put one account there with the patient's name, one code for the treatment, but there are 3 columns. The first column will indicate going to the medical aid, in other words, medical aid responsibility. The second column is patient responsibility, and then the total. You are allowed, the schemes that do pay balance billing, you are allowed to take the money that the patient must pay immediately. You can take it there, and then you can send the account through with showing that payment. And then the schemes that accept balance billing is obliged to pay the money that they must pay to you as a service provider. They can then not send it to the patient to go and spend on a holiday or something. So that is balance billing. Now, split billing, and I know, Sarah, I think I've read in your latest report, or Sarah, right, or something, Casey, that you are still going to contend this issue of split billing, and I agree with that. I've always said that. I don't agree with the split billing. I think it's our right to do split billing, especially with this almost chaos going on at the moment with the schemes. Some of them paying like 10 cents short here, and other ones 10 Rand there. And even in the same scheme, there are different fee structures for someone who signed a contract and someone that did not sign a contract. So split billing is basically where you've treated the patient. Let's say you've just done an extraction, to keep it simple now. But then you give account to the patient, or you send that in to the medical scheme, the 8201 for them to pay, and then you give another account to the patient to pay. But the price on that account differs from the one that you send into the scheme. That is basically split billing. Or there could even be different codes for the treatment that you've done for the same visit. So that is split billing. That part, I can see the problem there. But I mean, if you've done the same treatment, same codes, everything, I can't understand why we're not allowed to give account to the patient to send into the scheme and let him pay the other bit that he's got to pay me. That's split billing. So it's 2 different accounts.
Let me try and explain in my non-clinical head.
Yes.
So balanced billing is characterized by one invoice for that treatment.
Yes.
That one invoice clearly indicates what is payable by the scheme and what is payable by the patient, but on one invoice. In other words, the same invoice that you send to the scheme is the same view and exactly the same invoice that you can copy or send to the patient. But split billing is different in that you have two invoices, one that you send to the scheme for their portion and one that you send to the patient. So in other words, the scheme does not necessarily have a view of what the patient is paying on top of the invoice they already received. And one of the arguments that the schemes are telling us is that they feel that if you do split billing, there is a lot of fraud that may occur in that we may double bill. So in other words, you bill for the same treatment twice because they don't have a full view, and that's why maybe balance billing some schemes look at. But basically, this is the difference, Dr. Motsana, in terms of the split billing and balance billing. Now, let me explain. The HPCSA allows balance billing, but at the moment, it does not allow split billing. And what Dr. Erasmus was referring to is we have written to the board, the MDB Medical and Dental Board, to review that particular ruling on the split billing, and we've given reasons why. So thank you so much. The next one is, maybe you can try and answer this briefly, but we're gonna touch on it tomorrow. The question from Anonymous is, how does billing with RVU work? So maybe you can just touch briefly, but we're gonna deal with it tomorrow in detail.
Yeah, that's very wide. Let me quickly, I think you need to understand, if you understand the RVUs and understand the values on the coding list, you need to understand that there are certain procedures that you bill that are not profitable. That is the baseline of it. So, because there was an argument at National Council as well, should we fight for getting more money for 30 codes, for that argument, which I don't agree with, because I think dentists need to understand that there are certain procedures that the RVUs indicates to you that you are doing something at a loss. That is important for me about the whole thing, because if I remember correctly, over the many years that I've done 3 RVU studies, something like a single crown is actually a loss if you work at a medical aid tariff, because the amount sounds big to the patient, and it is, but there's a laboratory fee involved. It's not the dentist's money. So I don't know that really answers the question.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think you touched on it. I'm not going to dwell on it. I can explain it again in a layman's term, but I think let's deal with it tomorrow because we're going to touch on that, and I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'm chairing the meeting tomorrow as well, so that's going to be good. Dr. Van Niekerk says, not all medical aids are live when submitting. We need all to be live, makes getting our money immediately, even if codes are checked day before. So I think it's just a comment, which I think we can agree that not all medical aid scheme, or what would you like to say in this, if there's a comment? But basically what he's saying is not all medical schemes are alive. So even if you submit, they don't immediately, if I understand this, is they don't immediately return back to you.
Yeah, no, there's only 2 that if you're already doing the claim during the visit that are real time. That is basement and discovery. But if you get pre-authorization, what I normally tell my dentists, let's make it simple now to try how it works in my practice, is when he comes in for the first visit, you will do you will handle the problem that they came for, but you will do the thorough checkup with x-rays, etc., then do the charting, and then you will send that whole thing in to the scheme for authorization. And most of them, you will get an answer back within a day or 2 that you can do all these work and these ones are rejected or not. So you make an appointment for the second visit and you've got authorization. So then you know you are working and you're going to get paid. But if they say you can only do 2 fillings in a first visit and you're going to go and do 3 and 4, you're not going to get paid. So I always tell the patient, yes, some walk in and they assist, but they're not going to come back. They're there for the day. Then I tell them, okay, but you're going to pay for the 3rd one yourself. So they have the choice. You give them the choice. I never say to them, no, we're not going to do it. It's not possible. It's possible because it's not my clinical incompetence. It's a incompetent rule of a scheme that forces me to act this way.
Very true. Dr. Andrews, and sorry, I moved on the other one quick. They had asked that question, which we've already answered in terms of what Dr. Erasmus is using. We've answered and we've given more, but we are also saying we're going to deal with this on Wednesday. You need to choose a scheme that works for, you need to choose a software that actually works. And I want to encourage those that are with other software. And I find that sometimes when I speak to our members, even though the software is no longer saving them, they are very scared to move into another. And I'm saying, if you want to make your life easy, sometimes you need to actually sever ties with a software company that is not helping you, that is not supporting you, that is not there for you, and you struggle to load the codes, or when you load the codes, it mixes the codes, everything is mixed up. You get the outcome is not good. It is time. Don't be scared to actually say, thank you so much. Let me look for another supplier, but obviously try not to do it at the beginning of the year. Do it in the middle of the year when things are smooth, and then go and speak to a better organization, bring them on, let them look at the system that you have, and they will then transfer. If they are good in what they're doing, they should be able to transfer your data, your setup, mostly into a new system in a way that you can use and get even better results. So I want to encourage you to have a look at that. Dr. Scholz says to you, Dr. Erasmus, he says, well done, Ian. So this message is well received. And Dr. Parker, he says, or she, I think it's a she, we've already done this. Can Dr. Erasmus recommend good software? Please, if possible, let us know how good Eminence is as a dental software. Thank you. I'm not so sure I would like us to tackle each of the organization in terms of good or bad, because that may land us into trouble. But what we will do on Wednesday is we're going to tell you what to look for and use that criteria to actually check if Eminence would suit that criteria and if they pass. I'm almost certain that over time, we can even work on a tool to help you actually put information on it and say, this works or it doesn't work. But I wouldn't want to say it's good or it's bad, because there are restrictions on us discussing Eminence. But if you know of somebody that is using Eminence, please speak to that dentist or 2 dentists or 3 dentists. Ask them a few questions about Eminence. You will soon find out if it's a good company or not a good company. Okay. And then the last question is also is a comment from Dr. Andrews. Says, thank you for your insight and sharing your knowledge, Dr. Erasmus. Again, like I said at the beginning, as a non-clinician, having sat with you 3-4 years ago, I really said the way you explain it is so easy to follow that even my 3-year-old daughter can understand. I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Erasmus. Before I ask you to conclude, we've got 5 minutes to go. I just want to say to everyone that is attending today, thank you so much for coming. Please remember 2 things. Number 1, that if you want to continue to get good stuff out of SADA and your colleagues, please ensure that you have registered, not registered, but you have activated your new account in GlueUp. So basically, you go to www.sada.co.za. Then you must, on that website, click register. If you have not activated your account yet, click register. Don't click log in, because you will not get anywhere. Click register. I'll prepare some slides for tomorrow. Click register, and once you have, when you click register, it will bring a place where it says put in your email address. put the email address you've been using on my membership. Then it will take you to an expanded section where it requires your full names and your surname and your email address. You will see there. Make sure you put all that information and accept the terms and conditions. Click continue. It will then say, we have sent you an email. Please confirm that it's you that's opening. You must go to the email that you have used and click. You will see a small box that says click. It's got a green bar at the bottom. Click on that. Once you have clicked on that, while you have clicked on that, it will say you are successfully logged in and it will take you back into the system. Very, very easy, but I will show you the slides tomorrow. So please do that. Number two, we have Congress coming at the CTICC. You need to be registered. You need to be, your account to be activated. By the way, when you activate your account, all your details that you had already is there, but you must use the same email address. Then you must register for Congress, please. We are expecting a huge number of people that are going to be at Congress. Already today, we've been getting emails from outside of South Africa asking us to do letters for the embassies in terms of the visa application for those countries that I have to get a visa. So please come and see and learn with your colleagues from outside of the country in Africa, the rest of Africa, as well as coming from outside of Africa altogether. So I'm excited. Guys, tomorrow we are going to deal with coding. And we're going to deal with RVU. We're going to explain what RVU is. We're going to explain what the coding is, the two types of coding, and how you use them. And we're going to also give you good information on how to utilize that. I would do apologize, guys, for the recording stopping and starting. It's the network that we are having through the server. So please ensure that you come in, because many of you are making mistakes with coding, particularly young ones. You struggle and you don't know how to do it. We're going to make it easier for you to understand tomorrow. So please attend tomorrow's lecture. And of course, on Wednesday this week, we're going to have the 2 speakers plus new speakers that are going to be just there to take any question that you want to ask. Anything and anything, of course, around the profession. We cannot give dating tips. We cannot give marriage tips. We cannot give other tips. Not in this series, but absolutely. And I would like on that day to introduce some of your committee members so that you see the people behind the YDC. As you can see behind me here, you see that this is for the YDC. So we are very proud. Our YDC this year is really coming and things are going to happen. More things are coming up. If you are not a member of SADA, please register as well. So if you're not a member of SADA, you go to register and you do exactly what I've just told you, as in create an account. But in your case, because we don't have your details, you will have to add information. If you're a member, you don't have to add information, it's already there. But if you have also utilized our system and we've got a profile of you, when you use the same email address that you've used before, it will automatically take you to that detail and you can be a member. You choose your membership category, you make payment online. You know, we're so digitized that it should be easy anywhere you are to register and then register for Congress. So I want to say thank you, Dr. Erasmus. Any last words before we close?
So I think it's important that you should never abide, don't transgress anything ethically by abiding what the scheme is telling you is the right thing if it's not the right thing. You should question it. You should give the patient all the options from the top one, even if there's no chance that you're going to accept it and pay for it. It's your duty, your ethical duty to give it to the patient. And then from there, if the schemes start questioning you or whatever you're asking for, and it's something that you don't agree with, we need to fight back. We need to, you phone Dr. Pabu. She's sitting here at head office, you phone her. She's been very helpful in this regard. And you tell her that the scheme is now saying, a simple example, I had helped a young dentist 2 years ago, that they said she must pay the patient 12,000 Rand because this young dentist did a root canal on a wisdom tooth, but it was perfectly erupted wisdom tooth, perfectly formed canals, perfect root canal treatment. And then the scheme told this lady that you don't do root canals on wisdom teeth. Now that's ridiculous. Then you phone Dr. Parbu and you object to that situation, because that is interference in your clinical judgment, and it's actually false. I think if Kunkas can correct me if I'm wrong here, it's actually supersession. We actually, many years ago, 10, 12 years ago, we reported 2 dentists that was dental advisors for one of the biggest administrators in South Africa. And surprised, we got a reaction from the Health Professionals Council within 3 days, giving them a warning that they're interfering with your treatment plan. So they can refuse payment purely on financial reasons, no clinical reasons. Then you bring it to SARA head office.
Yeah, I think what Dr. Erasmus in closing is saying is very important. If you're a member of SADA, please remember you don't fight the scheme alone. Now I'm proud to say this. SADA, when it comes to treatment and code usage, we know better than the schemes, and the schemes make many mistakes. So if for some reason, and you know you have done everything right, even if you just want advice, if you have done something wrong, we will advise you to say, yeah, you were wrong. But if you are not wrong, we will fight on your behalf for that particular invoice to be paid. So please, if you're a member of SADA, don't suffer alone. Just write to clinical@sada.co.za. clinical@sada.co.za. It will go directly to Dr. Pabu. If you forget this email, just go onto our website. We've got all the contact details there, and Dr. Pabu will send everything. Say it all. Please, when you contact us, don't hide information, because if you hide information, we will advise you incorrectly, and we may fight with the schemes only later on to find that you are in the wrong. Rather, give us what's and all. Remember, we keep this confidential. When it comes to us, or when it comes to SADA, and we realize that you are doing something wrong, we will advise you and we will inform you and tell you how to do it in the future. So that's a good thing. You will learn, and we'll also tell you, don't take this to the scheme because you're gonna suffer. But if the scheme is wrong, we can assure you, without you paying anything, we will take it to the scheme and we'll deal with the scheme. And we've had, I would say, 99.99% success with everything that we have taken to any scheme. So please remember, we are the clinical@sada.co.za. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of tonight. We're 4 minutes over time. So thank you. Hope to see you tomorrow when we talk about coding and all about coding and RVU. Good night and God bless you.